it. You take a picture.
Oh, thank you. We'll do that then. Hi. Oh wow, it's beautiful. Have you got the candles
Candles. Need to light the candles.
Hello, how are you? You okay?
I'm alright. Congratulations,
Thank
you look absolutely stunning.
Thank you. And you must be Bella.
I am Bella. Nice to meet you, Rachel.
Nice to meet
You are
I'm
just.
doing,
That's just you. Just look.
I'm doing air kisses because I just can't do anything else.
Is that your hair?
Yes, well my hair was up on the day, so
Yeah, it's lovely.
Hello, how are you? You alright? Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
Lovely.
Hello, thank you for coming. Amazing. I think a lot of people think it's 7:30. So I think it's going to be, I think a lot of people. Hello, thank you for coming.
That's right, you're welcome to invite you, so lovely to see you.
Hello. I'm going to sit anywhere. There's you might be stuck for a seat, but you know. Thank you for coming.
Darling, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. And this must be your other half. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. You're right.
So, nice to see you. Yes, I was like, there's got to be a surprise. Gone for a different look. Where are you? Oh, I went for a different look.
You did?
I went for vintage glam. So, thank you for coming. And I've got.
Oh,
So, thank you. So,
that's from somebody else in church.
oh my, I think there's a table over there. Is that? Oh,
That's the
very
present that I didn't have. But,
Thank you so much.
that's something else from us.
Oh my God, you've given us tons.
And there's a little tiny thing in there, especially from Scotland,
Oh wow.
which I saw after the wedding, and I thought
you
it
thought
might
you
be
were
your
gonna
bouquet.
Oh, thank you so much.
So I will.
It's just busy light. Oh no, best man's lighting candles.
This is Jackie. And this is Brian.
I'll let my dress down. I think actually. Well, it's been dry cleaned. All the bars came out. Everything came out.
Excellent.
Yeah, except the beads they did from the machine. So my friends had to sort it again.
Quite play for us, but yeah.
Hello, lovely to meet you. I'm Rachel. You may have known the same. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it's not around the corner, so thank you very much. So, I've got family. There's some over there and there's some coming in. So, Liz has sorted my dress for me because there was a bit of a debacle with the dress. So Liz has. I'll be glad to see looking good. Pardon? Yeah. So it's all been. It's like a brand new dress because they completely cleaned it.
It's got a different fit to it.
Yeah. So
It has a different fit.
yeah.
But it's just
Yeah. Thank you.
And behind, Steve and Sandra.
Oh, yes.
And I don't know Sandra, she's from Denver.
Oh, I remember Sandra.
Hello, you look stunning.
I've seen you before, but
Yes.
thank you, Liz.
You look
Yeah,
stunning.
lovely to see you. Thank you. I appreciate it's not around the corner. So thank you for coming.
That's funny.
So thank you. I remember. Yes, I remember. To the sat and we had a roast dinner.
We did.
Yeah,
We went
Diplomat.
Diplomat. That was the best restaurant as well.
Oh, was it?
It wasn't then though.
Yeah.
It wasn't then.
Diplomat.
Yeah, it wasn't the best restaurant then, was it?
Yes.
It was.
Years, yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I don't know why the room mock-up happened. Because I got an email saying what happened. And I don't really understand.
You know what it's booked in? Carol Barron. So we've got they've done it.
Oh, they've mixed the two.
Yeah.
And I've got it on an email. I've got Jill Bear and Carol Davis.
Made a separate person.
Another room that was so then they go to two but no, then I said no, I've got it on an email because I rang and I said want to make sure it's right and I said it's my aunt Jill Bear and I said put it under hers because there's so many of us, so you're right. To do that and that's about it.
Amazing.
Thank you. It had I had heard. So this works for
How are you? Congratulations.
she basically took it in and like
Well, to pick up some speakers and mics, and then you can put a CD. People can't forget for some reason.
Did you get your fridge?
Oh, I got a new one. Free.
yes, hot, but okay. Thank you. Not much room is there? But yeah, no, I'm good, thank you. So I've got to bring the theatre to it this way. David Brown. We have a drink out there. Yeah, we do. Oh, there's orange juice. Yeah, I'll find it. Oh, okay. So we're going to the bar in a minute.
Doing everything else. It was, I wouldn't want to
You are the baby.
even younger than Nadia.
Nadia. Thank you for coming. How are you all? I'll get round. I'm shuffling in my dress. In a minute, darling.
It's beautiful.
We'll get her out to the
She looks like you, Natalie.
Yeah, she does.
She really,
Right, especially when I do. Watch that drink.
Can I have a cuddle? Right, hang on. Oh, can I have a cuddle? Shall I hold the drink?
There we go.
There you go.
There you go.
Have a cuddle. Oh, how are you? All right. You okay? Can I have a cuddle from you?
This is where you accidentally mix them up and you end up while he's drunk going home and you're not.
You okay? Thank you for coming.
I'm just going to go and ditch this and I'll be right back.
That's fine. I'm going to have to get up. That's fine. Are you
Right,
okay? This is very cool. And who did your hair? Was that Mummy?
That's awesome. I love that tie.
Well, I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know.
there we are.
But I certainly.
Run away from the rabble.
It's good to see that.
Nick said, put them on the
get away from
the
the-
rabbit. So I was like, okay, I'll put that on there.
Yes, when we booked in.
But as soon as we, yes, Wales would do this because it's how it's.
It's in that card. If I just post it like that. Yeah. Is it in your card? Yes. I've gone for a different look today. So I was like, anyone seen that? Oh, did you have my hair up? Yes, yes. So she has some eyebrows, very, very heavy. But it's like a mask to my husband. His phone broke today. So I found him, he was fine. He was sorting out some music. And we picked it. This is where we picked the dress. It was in this hotel.
I know.
Stunning, you look lovely.
Thank you. Are you, oh, it's dropping a bit, but it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
Are you alright just to sing?
Sorry, I
Switch round. What we're going to do is do our first dance and then stay on the dance floor for Come What May.
Okay, that makes sense.
I'm not sure who's introducing who. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course it is.
Thank you so much. So just looking out.
You'll see you, lovely.
Very serious today. Are you very serious? Oh, don't say that! Thank you for that. I can't quite get there.
Without the aid of alcohol.
That's enough, yeah.
So you can comfortably lose him for periods of time.
Sorry, but I hear more words. Nice to meet you as well. I haven't met you.
It's just easier. So when it's a new year, a massive bag. But if I forget...
She's ill. She really wants to come. Yeah, she's fine. She really wants to come, but
It's all right.
there's a little just
Oh, no, thank you. Put it over on there. Let's make a wish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
All right. Yeah, congratulations. You look beautiful.
I'll come around and say.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Oh, thank you.
You did that, right?
Thank you.
Right. Very nice. Very nice. You keep going and you might...
I've got to make an effort. It's your day. You
Should we do a cheers?
cheers. Why not indeed?
Can I give you a kiss? Thank you very much for coming. Thank you. I can't breathe, but thank you. Over there, you make a wish.
Where's the old fella?
He's there talking to someone.
Oh, I won't understand that.
I'll make it Welsh.
I lost Nick. Couldn't find him. But he was sorting out some music, so
Okay, okay.
that was it. I was just like,
I hadn't picked up Julie then, so I didn't.
oh no, that's fine.
That's fine.
Find him. So I thought, Shy.
Antigua.
So you got a bit of a tan, was it hot?
It was too hot, yeah.
I love bubbles.
It's a hard life, yeah.
The funny thing is, you have to go
That's not how it works. It's never meant to work. I was your dresser, so I've seen it all. Did you wave him? Did you wave at
It's a pity you've got red all over your lips, isn't it? From your drink.
I was so happy.
I was like,
Right, ladies and gentlemen, start for proceedings tonight. The first speech is from Nick's best man. Here's Dan.
Thank you very much. Everybody hear me all right? Up back? Yes, good stuff. I have written a little introduction to myself, but thank you very much for that introduction. I now don't need that. So I thought I'd start off just by explaining a little bit about how me and Nick met. We go back a little bit now. We started off at uni together. We were doing a course in stage management and technical theatre, which is basically light, set, and sound. We obviously bonded pretty quickly. Nick and I share a love of rugby and share a love of climbing. The climbing bit, Nick is considerably better at than me. I am slightly heavier, shall we say. Nick weighs about half a stone. He was actually, funny enough, he was forever getting in trouble when we were at uni. We used to have these studio theatres that had these all sorts of bars and things to rig lights and whatnot from. And there'd be ladders in the room, there'd be platforms in the room for Nick to work on. And every time you went in the room, he would be dangling from at least one corner of the room. No ladders, completely unsafe. How he didn't kill himself, I do not know. So as I say, yeah, I've known Nick a little while, and we basically, sorry, a little bit lost in my speech there. Yeah, so as I say, he was forever getting told off for climbing around in the theatre, which he just absolutely shouldn't have been doing. He's a wonderful rugby player. He's probably the most hard-working technician I've ever come across. He's physically in wonderful shape, mentally in great shape, which I really cannot get my head around. Because in all the years that I've known Nick, I don't think I've ever seen him eat a vegetable. Not once. I'm sure Rachel's nodding. Not only does he not eat a vegetable, lunchtimes when we, when we were in between big fit-ups, which are where you build the set and everything, they're physically quite draining. And most of us will go and get a decent hearty meal from the shops or whatever. Nick, pretty much for 3 years, basically just ate every lunchtime 5 iced bun fingers and a can of iron brew, which I really just I don't know. Nothing's changed. I do not understand how he is the size and shape that he is. I have a theory, which is in sort of 10 or whatever years' time, when he's 35 or whatever, it's all going to catch up with him, and he's going to be this sort of relatively short, quite chunky fella who's got the early onset of scurvy or something. we'll wait and see on that one. Yeah, so when we were at uni, there was this cracking little pub down the road. It was called the Two Brewers. Had a dartboard on it, or in it. Had a dartboard in it, and we probably spent, I don't know. Well, I'm not even going to try and do the figures for that. I don't want to know how much money we spent down that pub, tagging away on the dartboard. And Nick, fair enough, is a little bit better at darts than me. Not sure whether he can handle his booze quite as well. If you go to that pub, there's a chunk at the side of the dartboard where there's loads and loads of little holes in the wall, most of which were Nick, sort of halfway. I think that's gone somewhere near it. It was a cracking little pub. We used to get pizza from around the corner. And the pub had a deal with the pizza shop, which was that we could eat the pizza in the pub, which I think was very much a student thing. And so we'd order pizza from the corner. They'd sort of deliver it round to us. We did that for about 2 months solidly before we realised A, it was terrible for our livers, and B, that my wallet was empty. I put on a good stone and a half during that month. Nick, not a bleeding thing. I mean, don't know how he does it. Sorry, change pages again. I should explain, these are a little bit stuck together because I spilled beer down me earlier on. So going back sort of not quite as far, first time well, not the first time I met Rachel, but the first time I really got to have a good conversation was in our final sort of year's project. Nick and I had built this mechanical dinosaur. It was a Triceratops, which sort of, it didn't have a skin that made it look like a Triceratops, but it was wooden, it was metal, it squeaked like anything. I realised afterwards, looking at the videos, that all the joints went the wrong way, so it looked like it was moonwalking, basically. It wasn't that great, but it was the first time that I properly got to meet and talk to Rachel. For longer than sort of 10 minutes at a party or whatever. And what was really obvious then, which was really, really nice, is just the huge amount of love and support that she gave Nick at the time. Which also, I wonder if she'd have given that huge amount of love and support if she realised just how lazy Nick and I were in making that project. I mean, it was a 6-week project. We probably did about a week's work and just sort of scraped through it. It basically came out of these massive doors, and it walked. It had 4 people on it, one on each leg, and then one person sort of sat in the middle, a bit like a go-kart, and the head moved up and down, and we had a speaker which was playing out the Jurassic Park soundtrack. We got about halfway down, and me and him were stood on the side, looking very, very sort of proud of ourselves. And someone came up to me, I'll never forget, someone said, "Oh, you've done really, really well, it looks bloody fantastic." I said, yeah, great, thank you very much. She said, "I didn't know that you could make a dog look like that." I was like, "Great, thanks." So, as I say, when I first met Rachel, it was pretty obvious that she was a very talented performer and a wonderful singer. Nick, on the other hand, not so much of a good singer. I mean, I'm not saying he's the worst singer in the world. He's definitely the worst one I've ever heard. Although he does like a good sing-song. More than a good sing-song. Get a few beers down him. There's 2 things you notice when you get a few beers down him. One is that his accent gets thicker and thicker and thicker the more drunk he gets. Most of us sort of, after sort of 6 or 7 pints, got to the point where we just sort of nod and agree and smile, and if he smiled back, we knew we were doing well, and if he didn't smile back, we'd missed the point. I can only assume that, Rachel, either she's a fantastic translator, or is just a far, far better nodder and smiler than I ever was. Yeah, that one is it. Sorry. I do apologise. So obvious that Rachel was a fantastic performer. Nick, as I say, loves a good sing-song. There was a fantastic moment in the basement, which was our student union bar, aptly named the basement because it was dark, dingy, smelly and damp. Nick stood up and sang a massive rendition on the karaoke machine, not exactly sober, should we say, on the karaoke machine of Breaking Free from High School Musical. I would point out two things here. One is that was Nick's choice. Right? There was a whole list of songs, and Nick chose the High School Musical one. Not only that, he didn't look at the word thing once. Like, he knew that song completely off by heart. Yeah, one of Nick's absolute finest moments. Climbing. Nick and I, we sort of did a lot of climbing, which, funny enough, came out of spending far too much money and time in the pub while we were training. We realised that, perhaps darts wasn't actually any form of exercise, and we should probably go and do something a little bit more draining. Nick, this climbing venue had all sorts of walls and bouldering to go up, sideways, up, down, left, and right. And there were a few occasions where I fell and not broke my leg, but pretty much near to it. And Nick, in a very sort of plain, blunt way, I was rolling around on the floor in utter agony, and Nick sort of walked over and went, "Are you all right?" Not really, mate. I'm in quite a lot of pain. He said, "It's okay, I've called an ambulance." The ambulance crew came, and all I can remember, they give you the oxygen, which sort of sends you a bit loopy. All I can remember is lying on the floor with this ambulance lady wrapping my leg in bandages or whatever, and I look up and there's Nick at the top of the climbing wall. Obviously, me falling off was a massive inconvenience to Nick's climbing routine. And the worst thing was, he sort of looked down and looked me in the eye and just say, "Are you still all right?" Yeah, I'll carry on then, shall I? So I'm gonna wrap it up there. But I suppose before I do, I would like to say, I couldn't ask for a better friend than Nick. We've worked together, we went to uni together, and not only can I ask for a better friend than Nick, it fills me full of absolute joy that he has clearly found his soulmate. He adores Rachel, and likewise, and it's such a lovely thing. So the last thing for me to do, even though my drink is over there, is just to say a toast to the happy couple. I wish you many, many, many years of happiness. To the happy couple. And now... Thank you very much. Now I'm going to introduce a gentleman up on the stage. His name is Mike Williams. Mike, you here?
Where's your stage manager to sort this out? I am only 5'6". Right. This is some memories that have been handed to me to allow me to put them into a poem, a rhyme. And I have been told by my daughter I am to say slowly and enunciate the words so that everybody will be able to hear it. I've done it as if it's from Rachel, because this in time, I hope, will be just on the side in their house and they'll be able to look at it as their memories. So it's called We Are One. We found each other, fell in love, our paths they intertwined. We struggled through life's ups and downs, now together you are mine. We married in a Reseg house after Nick had bumped his head, and the registrar with venue change said we could still be wed. Remember that first day we met, Bridewell Theatre, cast and crew. I was cold and you were hot, and I thought, I like you. Doggett's pub and our first date, no food but lots of ale, then hand in hand to Waterloo to start our fairy tale. The Wednesday evening fish and chips, how to treat a girl. But dates like these were precious and life a joyful whirl. Those South Bank trysts we shared each week would melt an iced up fridge before the orange coat bike run back down to London Bridge. Sandown Beach and I love you written in the sand, the layers of clothes to ward off cold for a proposal that was planned. Nick in shorts, so elegant. He's like that every day. But that's what makes him special. I don't want it any other way. Then the Gower and horse riding, bottom, Joe and Kim, misbehaved, wouldn't walk, and stopped just on a whim. 9th of May 2010, March the 23rd, that 2013 special day when such sweet words were heard. The question, will you marry me? Can this be really true? For yes, the answer, and at once, it set life's path for you. So stage and kings and kutch and kiss. Today we celebrate the joy that is a marriage, blessed by the hand of fate. Thank you.
Now it's my pleasure to introduce Nick.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Quite firstly, thank you all for coming. And thank you, Dan and Mike, for your kind words. Believe it or not, I actually only read this about 20 minutes ago. I did have it on a piece of paper, but I only wrote it out about 20 minutes ago. I wanted to stay away from the sort of typical speech, so I wanted to go with the long lines I've done a show of theatre, as we are both from theatre backgrounds. So I've gone for a story, a tale of misery, disappointment, fate, camaraderie, irony and jubilation. A good plot for a good play, a good musical, but no, this is our wedding. So misery, to bring you up to bring what misery in our story lies. Letdowns by many venues down this end, 2 or 3 venues let us down, pulled together, hence the reason why we ended up in Scotland. Scotland, why not? To the beautiful, well, so we speak, so is thought, to the beautiful beach of Canada. We'll get to that bit in a second. Other letdowns by ring suppliers and tailors, you name it, we've had it. So it's been a pleasure that we made it here. Disappointment, well, all the above really, so can't really add any more to that. Fate, we are both big believers in fate, and when we both met, we take it down to fate. The show that we both met on, one Rachel nearly didn't get cast, and one I didn't even take the work on. So the fact that we actually met was fate pulling us together. Finding our venue, as I said, about Camstaff Beach was possibly where we got married. We didn't get married in the end. Was we found by pure coincidence when we were trying to book a time with the registrar for another venue when she suggested this venue, which a beach where we were planning to get on would have been quite faith and romantic as well. As many people may know, I proposed on a beach, I wrote it in the sand. So getting married on a beach would have been finishing off, tidied up nicely, but actually what we ended up in the end in the house was much more, far better, and actually more fate again, which is my other bit on my card. With the house falling into place, where we did end up getting married in a music room of a big stately home, where actually on the wall, Rachel originally wanted a picture of her granddad, who she gets all the musical talent from, on the beach and stuff. We never got round to packing one when we went up, but in this music room on the wall was a big portrait, and it was a massive portrait of a fiddler. So she was like, that's fate. The nod to her granddad in the room of being there when she got married. Camaraderie, as you know, it's not been a smooth 2 years for us with the ups and downs of venues and everything else, and it's been wonderful to how all our friends and stuff have given kind words of wisdom and helped us and come to us to give us help and help us plan stuff and supply stuff and be there at the last minute if we needed something. A massive one for camaraderie is, I can't say it enough, is when we were in Scotland. As I said, we were planning on getting married on the beach. We had done all the forecasts, paid for an advanced forecast weather. It was supposed to be sunny. It was supposed to be sunny. No, it wasn't. We got up there, we went down to the beach on the Friday night, lovely sunshine, chatting to the owner of the beach and the campsite behind. She goes, yeah, it's supposed to rain quite hard on Tuesday, and our faces just dropped. We were standing on the beach, sun was out, it was a day much like today. coats, trousers, jumpers. This was a nice day and we were cold. So we were sitting there on a Friday, bank holiday weekend, registrar office not open up until Monday, Tuesday even, and we were getting married on Tuesday. So we wanted to try and move the venue. What do you do? Well, what we did was just ask around. Everyone seemed to know everyone. It was such a small place. Rachel went for a dress fit, to get her dress fixed. She'd managed to nick it in a couple of places while we were transporting it. And the dresser was going, oh, my daughter knows this registrar. I'll just Facebook her. So there we were, sat in a pub in the middle of Fort William. And an hour and a half later, after we were sitting there having a drink, going, what we do, what we're going to do, what we're going to do, what we're going to do, we get a random phone call off the head registrar. So this wasn't even the registrar we contacted on Facebook. This was the head registrar. Off her personal mobile, while she was sat in another Wetherspoon somewhere else, going, yeah, not a problem, you can move your venue. So yeah, to us, the massive amount of camaraderie up in Scotland sort of made our wedding, especially the house and stuff as well, accommodating us and everything. It comes to irony in our story. Where do we start? How about spending 2 hours of your morning of your wedding in hospital? For those who don't know the story yet, we were staying in a nice catering place in Scotland, in the middle of nowhere. And when I say the middle of nowhere, we didn't get phone signal, there was no Wi-Fi, there was no phone line. You looked around, every window you looked out of had a loch, mountain or forest. Morning of the wedding, we'd had all our breakfast table laid out, ready to sit down and have breakfast together before we parted our ways to get ready. Just as we're just about to come down for breakfast, 2 wild deer wandered into our back garden. As organised as we are, we'd had the camera and everything laid out by the door. Well, as organised as Rachel is, she had it laid out by the door and everything so I don't forget. So she goes, quick, take a picture. So I bent down, picked the camera up. As I get up, in my haste, I managed to find the door frame and managed to crack my head open. So, morning of our wedding, perfectly planned. We were in the hospital and I was having 2 stitches in my head. So the irony, you ask, where that is? Well, about 2 years ago, I managed to break my wrist playing rugby. So I was in a blue cast, and some South Downs people might remember one dinner dance where I had a blue cast on my suit. So I'd seen a few pictures recently and I'd gone, didn't look really that nice. And Richard kindly asked me if I didn't mind playing rugby a month before we went away, just so if I'd got any black eyes, cuts or anything else, I'd find by the wedding. I saw a couple of pictures and went, yeah, I don't mind, I'll do that because I pay a lot for a professional photographer and everything. You want your wedding pictures to look nice. You don't really want a blue cast. So the irony in our story is, yeah, no matter what I did the month before, the morning of the wedding, I still ended up in hospital. Jubilation in our story, every good story has jubilation. The main one for me was the first time I saw Rachel when she walked into the room in her beautiful attire on the morning of our wedding, being pronounced man and wife at the end of our speech. And then obviously our first holiday away, which we just got back from, which meant everything to me. I have missed one thing off my thing, which is fate, or irony, I think it is. I think it comes under both. And it's the one bit which I wanted to say. When I first met Rachel, when I said she was doing the show, she was happily playing a lesbian in the show. What nice to do. But during our vows, it was really funny because the registrar was really nervous. Probably could have said she was probably more nervous than me and Rachel, which I don't get that. But she did mind. Do you take this woman to be your bride, to be your wife? Perfect. Came on to Rachel, asked Rachel, do you take this woman? Which to us was. Yeah, it was. We didn't realise at the time. It didn't click with us. All we were thinking about was obviously we were in the moment. So we just both looked at each other and just went, "What do we do?" But yes, it was only afterwards when the photographer said, "I thought she was going to lose it after that," did we actually realise that it was quite ironic that when we first met, she was playing a lesbian and she got asked if she was to marry this woman. So for me, that is our little story, our little thing. Just to sum it all up. to be honest with you, these stories and this line of events, if it happened any other way, it wouldn't have been me and Rachel. With everything that happens in our life, things happen and it goes as planned. I think the one thing I've learned definitely from this wedding is no matter how much we plan something, it's just easy to go along with what happens. Because inevitably it changes. Just for me, so I don't think I'd have done it any other way. Ending up, as we did in our safe house, in the room, having that lovely little room with music hall and the chef coming in to play us, Tim on the fiddle, as a chef does. Are you hearing that, guys, at the back? You got your fiddles ready? But yeah, no, it's just this wedding process has it's been really nice, and it's left us with loads of stories and memories, which one day I look forward to sitting and telling the grandkids. That's how it is. A couple of little thanks and stuff to say. One, just mainly to those who have helped us through the stressful times and stuff, with little words and kind words and stuff, and everything, just the little things. Some people don't realise how much some of them sometimes mean. Just thank you to those who have been there. I'm going to say thank you to Steve and Jane. You guys haven't heard them yet, but I would thank you guys ahead of it, later even. One, thank you, Mike. I already thanked you again, but officially thank you. Same time. Also, Tony as well. I thank Tony for doing this evening video and taking the talks for us. And the biggest thanks has to go to the lady who, on literally the final hour, it must be, when everything got messed up with the tailor, with Richard's dress, 2 days before we go, getting it back and realising it was all wrong. Big thank you to Liz, who helped out to fix the dress, to amend it, to make it fit, to make it work, and then also again when it came back from RSA, which had been cleaned, again doing some fixing and stuff. So Liz, thank you very much. I'd like to invite you all over. I'm hoping your knife is there. If not, guys, get the knife. We're going to cut the cake, so if anyone wanted to take any photos or anything like that, we're about to cut the cake. Cheers, thank you very much.
Yeah, ready? Where do we cut it?
Just take a couple of photos.
3. Oh, it's too nice to cut!
I'll wait to taste this.
Then what do we do now? Another
That's
bit?
it. Do you want to do another bit? Nah, that'll be fine.
That's fine, we cut it, yeah. Right, thank you. Do we just leave it there?
First answer again?
Yeah.
I had funny light and it went ready. It's going to do it again, isn't it? I don't want to flash on it.
Okay, well then that... Oh yeah, no, just check. I'll make this charm. Can you make this? 14.
I'll be fine.
Oh, she's going for the bubbles. Tony, it's not accepted. And then after that, we're going to have some food. So, we're going to have a bit of a dance and a song. Alright, yeah.
I think they've got to dance.
Oh no, you don't have to dance. You don't have to dance. Me and Nick have to dance.
Oh, right.
Alright, so I'll say again.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I can have everyone's attention. Hello. Ladies and gents, everyone hear me? Brilliant. This is the moment that Nick has been waiting for forever. He's super excited. But I introduced a very, very happy couple onto the floor for their first dance. And please, halfway through the dance, if you would like to join in, please feel free. A happy couple, ladies and gents.
Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for Rachel and Nick.
Ladies and gents, could you also give a very, very big hand for Jane and Steve, who are performing now.
Never thought I could feel like this. It's like I've never seen the sky before. I want to vanish inside your kiss. Every day I love you more and more.
Silly nothing's changed.
Ladies and gents, the buffet is now open. Please help yourself to food.
We'll get
Right, just to know there's loads of food still hanging around. If you're still hungry, please do go and help yourself, okay?
She's